Hi, I'm Antonio Berardi and this is Fashion Files Magazine. Pre-fall was basically, I was looking at Bowie, so it was a little bit Thin White Duke. It was kind of masculine, which I quite liked. I like the idea that it's kind of like some pieces were oversized with skinny crop pants, and it was kind of super feminine, and at the same time it was kind of mean and slightly 70s, or my interpretation of what 70s would be. So I like to kind of take things and then take them totally out of context, but it still has a little bit of DNA from what it was meant to be, but it should never be referential, not too much. And from pre-fall we moved on to fall, which was really an homage to Oscar Niemeyer. So it was very much that kind of Brazilian modernism, very central, because his lines are incredibly central. So if there was an architect that I guess I wanted to define my work, it would be someone like Niemeyer. It was the feeling, it was the colour, it was the movement and the curves and all those things. It's like sometimes I kind of treat my work very much like me. I don't see very well and I don't wear my glasses, but sometimes a glimpse is enough for your mind to kind of like work it into something else. And I think that sometimes that kind of captured moment as a memory becomes so much bigger. With pre-collection we went back into doing that prequel. So it's kind of like, I was thinking, so many movies that then have a prequel which are just as relevant. And the prequel, or the pre-collection, or cruise, was very much a prequel to what we'd done for fall. It was Brazil, but we touched on the things from Brazil that I guess I didn't do for fall, or which weren't relevant to fall. So we were looking at kind of like, the idea of how would I do the Amazon, how would I do, hot and sultry. And so to me it was kind of the colour of hummingbirds, and it was kind of palms, and it was things that sparkled, like dewdrops in the morning. And from there we did a section which was my candomblé section, which was very white and embroidered, and from there we moved on to that kind of Jesuit section, that kind of like from candomblé we went into Jesuit, and then it's kind of like my own thing. It went red and we did kind of voodoo, which wasn't Brazilian, but in a strange kind of way could be, and that's how I worked it. What I've been working on for spring is lightness. So things are incredibly light, animalistic, which is something new for me, but it's light and things move, things bounce, and it kind of feels fresh. So it's kind of interesting and iridescent, and it's super sexy, but it's the idea that you have to perceive the sexiness in it, so it's not all open and whatever else. It's interesting, you get flashes of the body and you get kind of glimpses, or where you feel you should have a glimpse, you don't. So it's like a negative, if you like. It's interesting. It's almost like being a chef. You have ingredients, or you might go to a supermarket or to a store and you see things that you like, and it could be colour, and it could be fabrics, and it could be embroidery, and it could be whatever. And it's kind of like, and you try and pull those elements together. You try and create something which is going to entice, have an amazing kind of sensation about it. So I don't really research one thing and that's it. It's kind of like, what I tend to do is that it's kind of like, I tend to add in inspirations. So it's like soup really, and you add in those things and you kind of balance things out, and it's like cooking. It really is. I admire people that are bold. I admired a lot people like Nicolas Ghesquière, because he was bold and because he did things, and because sometimes he upset people, but it was genius. And I admire the kind of fashion that takes time for people to understand. It's not really about things being immediate. It's about looking back a season, 2 seasons, 2 years later and thinking, that was such a genius move. So I admire him a lot. I admire people like Mucha Prada, because it's just interesting. It's not for everyone, but it's interesting, and I think that's what it should be. It's almost like sometimes we need to stimulate some people in order for those people to stimulate. the masses. And I think those are two examples of people that do it so brilliantly. Oh, do you know, for me it becomes difficult because I think each thing has a story, and each thing comes to life from that particular celebrity. It's kind of like what I do is very, you know, it's kind of like I'm very proud of my work, but I think at the end of the day, without that person in it, and without that person giving it attitude, they could just be dresses. So I'm more amazed at the idea that these women have the possibility to wear whatever they want to wear, and that they would choose to wear me. So that to me is almost, it's like the biggest compliment anyone could pay. I was super excited when Kate Blanchett won something, because she's just amazing.
She's incredible.
She's amazing. Whenever Gwyneth's worn something of mine, she always looks amazing. And it always becomes Gwyneth. It's funny actually. I'd never met her, and I met her afterwards, and she said to me, "I wore one of your dresses to the first Iron Man premiere," and ironically, that was like a big fuss because you could see her underwear, and then she wore something to Iron Man 3 and you couldn't see the underwear, and that was a big fuss too. So I said maybe we need to do like an underwear line together.
Sure, that's a great pitch.
You know what? I think the interesting thing about all of that is that it just blew up, and it's kind of like I didn't even know that she had it. I didn't know that she was wearing it, but I happened to be in London. I walked past the newsstand and every paper had Gwyneth on the cover. So it was an amazing moment, and a moment when I had to take my cap out of my bag and put it on my head, because I was kind of thinking somebody might see me looking at the newsstand thinking I knew about this and I didn't. No, I think it's kind of like, you know, it's kind of, honestly, every 6 months is a test, and it's not necessarily about whether I ever think I've made it. I think, you know, the proof pudding is the idea that it carries on selling, that people still want to wear it, and that it remains relevant.